Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. Today I'll be reviewing an interesting game that was played on the Fox Go server between two professional players. The two professional players are Wang Xinghao from China with the white pieces. I do not know their username because it is in Chinese, but their opponent from Korea is Jihyun as black with the name Blackpink. Very fitting name. And one thing I've noticed about these two players is these two players might be the players that have appeared the most in this series I have, where I review interesting games. And I don't know if it's just coincidence or I just happen to see their games, but I don't know, something about their games just really make things exciting and unique. And they play, again, I don't know if it's because these are just kind of free games online. They're just kind of trying things more than in, let's say, professional tournaments, but something about these two players comes up a lot. And in fact, I think another game by them that I want to review for this series because it is, once again, pretty interesting. So yeah, regardless though, I want to look at this game because it features one of my favorite aspects of Go, which is sabaki. Especially someone who has to play a lot of handicap games at my local club, you kind of have to get good at sabaki when you play a lot of handicap games. But also, even in my even games that I might play online or at tournaments, just the way I play, I like to play a sabaki style. Where I don't mind giving my opponents big moyos or big areas as long as I can invade later and, let's say, see what happens. So this game features some crazy sabaki, and because the thing with sabaki is it's generally pretty unique to each game, whereas other aspects of the game, opening, end game, and even in some cases fighting, you'll see sequences you've seen before. And yeah, as long as you have the experience or played enough games or studied enough, you can generally guess the next moves or at least know kind of what's about to happen. But with sabaki, because it's pretty unique to each game, it's pretty exciting. So this game also features not only tesujis, but even, speaking of opening, joseki, that I don't even know if it's joseki, but opening sequence that gets played. But as I said, this game also features tesuji that I was almost going to just make a tesuji highlight video on, but the whole game itself is exciting, so I decided to just make a full review. But without further ado, let's jump into the game. We have these two players. I believe the time setting was 1 minute main time and 3 15-second overtime. So let's get into it. Enough preamble. Let's jump right in. And one thing I noticed about black here, which again, like, does black play this way in tournaments? Maybe sometimes, but black approaches, and then approaches from this side. So a very rapid opening, right? Black's trying to get everywhere on the board. White shoulder hits, and black pushes and extends. This is all normal. And then white plays a knight's move. So this kind of move, and this is what I mean, you want to take shapes you've seen before, and if they work in one instance, they generally work in another instance. So this shape should look very familiar if you've ever seen this kind of sequence, which this sequence happens about every 2 games almost, right? It doesn't happen in this game, surprisingly, but where the next proper move for white is to do this knight's move. And the reason why you do the knight's move is you don't want to push from behind, and generally speaking, the follow-up, if black were to go elsewhere, is to play at r7. This is the move white is looking for. So generally, if black wants to prevent that, black plays at r7, and as you can see, whether white pushes here or plays the knight's move, black's going to play r7 anyways, and you can see white is 1 stone further ahead than if white was here, right? Here. So that's the reason for playing the knight's move. So again, taking shapes we know in one instance and trying to apply them elsewhere. Now, with that being said, though, black actually does not answer. And again, I think this is black trying to play fast. And they might have been playing fast physically, but just the black pieces are trying to get around the board as quickly as possible. Because there is potential pushing cuts here, but as long as black can hold, black's trying to build a big bottom. So black's saying, okay, whether you can push and cut me, or whether you do stunt my expansion on the right side. I'm going to build a big bottom. It was the general plan when I played M3 anyways. Yes, and also if you do play this way, right, now that white has some thickness, again, there's some weaknesses, but white has some stones here, white attacking the bottom side could be quite dangerous as well. So black plays his jump, and again, I like these kind of big expanding moves. A more natural move might be even just to extend the 2 space, maybe protect the corner somehow, but black's really trying to, with just 3 moves, black's really trying to expand the bottom. Now here's something very interesting, because early 3-3, as we all know, is very common nowadays. But you play the early 3-3 when you don't mind which way your opponent blocks, right? Regardless of which way they block, I'm going to be satisfied. But in this case, if you were white, or let's say if you were black, I mean, is there a direction, if white were to play this 3-3 here, which direction do you think black would play? Do you think black would play the block here or the block here? If you played the 3-3, which one? Well, especially once black has played M5, it seems pretty self-explanatory that black would just play, if you played the 3-3, black would just play blocking this way, right? Because if you block this way, and even if black just continues, right? These 2 stones here are very efficient. These 2 stones here are very efficient. And because black hasn't invested any stones in the upper left, it's not like black cared about the left side anyways. So when you know which way is better for your opponent, you can play on the side that they would want. So the white plays here next. And yeah, this move is just pretty good. Yeah. So black does block this way, and basically what happens for white is white gets a slightly bigger corner, which, again, in a game of inches, is very important. It's very important. You can see, because when you play the 3-3, you're asking, okay, which way are you going to block? When you play the attachment, you're asking, okay, do you want the outside or the corner? And as you can see, if black were to take the corner here, then now these 2 stones here, what are they doing, right? You'd rather had not have played M5 at all and just played elsewhere instead. So, yeah, so when you know which way is a better way to block, you can play the attachment. Look at this. White slides. And black's trying to look for, or black had a plan in mind, I should say, when black played M6, is black is going to look to attack white's shape here. And if I just said, attack white's shape, where would you play? Where would you play as black? And this is why shape is so important. Shape knowledge is so important. Black plays here. Black is playing at the knight's move. The dog face is the weakness of the knight's move. And very clearly, if white does something else, black's going to push and cut. Now, one thing I see a lot is to push and then peep. But you don't want to do this because, one, you actually make your stones a little bit weaker. But, yeah, it's just an unnecessary exchange. Because, for example, let's say white fixed by going here, right? Well, then you don't need to push here. It's an unnecessary exchange, even if you think of it as a wasted co-threat. And if white pushes down like this, then black's actually fixed this push and cut now. And because white hasn't touched this stone at 06 is actually very light as well. So you don't want to push then peep. Generally, you want to just peep. So if A, B, C, just play at C. So white actually goes here because white didn't like any of those variations. But this allows black to push and cut. And so far, I've seen this kind of shape before. I've seen, the player peeps and the opponent does not care and just takes the corner and lets the cut happen. But it's about to get a little intense in the area, and we'll see that. So white peeps. The very easy reason why white does this, or I don't want to say obvious reason, but the reason why white does play this peep is if white does something else, there's Aji here, in the corner when black cuts. There's some bad aji here. Where notice now white cannot go down as long as there's this cut here. So white is just simply fixing that weakness by going here. But this gives black the opportunity to play here. And white actually stands up. And I was like, oh, because generally speaking, and this is something I teach my students, is if your opponent ignores you, you should really try to get follow-ups to it. So I would be really thinking about pushing and cutting here or cutting here. Yeah. But white wants to keep this push and cut alive at S7, so white extends up. Then black covers. White pushes, goes down. Black pushes again and again. I would be very tempted to cut here, actually. While I did give up an extra stone, it is quite problematic for black to find a good response, I think. Because if you block here, then I can just straight up capture these stones here. There's no way for black to easily run out, I should say. But if black saves here, then when I stand up, now you can't go here because now I can Atari, and this would capture the cutting stone. So, yeah, white simply just pushes, and black pushes again and connects. And so now it's a question of, okay, white, how are you going to use these 5 stones effectively? Well, white pushes and cuts. But before I show the cut, which cut should white take? Because there's a very important proverb you should follow when deciding where to cut. So in this position, the question white should ask themselves is, which side do I want? Do I want the A side or the B side? Well, in this case, if white was able to capture the A stones, white would simply live, right? So if white's able to get the A stones, white would live, and so white should cut on the side white doesn't want. But why is that? Well, the reason is it has to do with shape. So let's say white wants to capture the A stones, so white thinks I'm going to cut this way. Oops. White cuts this way. Well, notice when black captures, look at black's shape. White has to extend here. Black can maybe play his shoulder hit once. But black can simply just live like this, or even, I'm pretty sure black can live even if black jumps. But regardless, black is alive in the lower right. There's no way for now white to capture those 3 stones I just showed, and it's because black was able to capture a stone. But notice if you cut this way, again, if black captures the cutting stone, white would get what white wanted, right? White would save the 3 stones. But now when black in the game connects here, now compare black shaped this to, not that one, to this one, right? Black shape is so much better. So, yeah, that's why you want to cut on the side you don't want, because now black is not alive locally. So white leans, black hanes, it's a free move. And now, and again, it's very impressive because we're talking 15-second overtime. And if you cannot read this out, then black has a lot of problems, right? White has a lot of problems too, but if black can't solve the issue, or can't let these stones live, can't find a way to have these stones live, I should say, black's going to be in a world of hurt. So black has to find a way to either capture these 5 stones, 6 stones, or these 3 stones. So black starts with this hane. Now, the reason why black's haning, very similar to cut on the side you don't want. And I'm actually thinking of making a lecture video on this topic where you play on the side you don't want. So in this case, black is actually going after the center, but black's leaning on the right side. Because white has to cut. Black stands up. White extends. And now black can shoulder hit here. And it's not obvious that black can shoulder hit here, but black can't. The reason is, so first off, so notice when white plays here, black played this goblin's nose, which this isn't even the tesuji I'm thinking about. But why can't black block here? But if black blocks here, and black has to be able to block here, by the way, white only has 2 liberties. But miraculously, white could cut, Atari, and this is a ladder. This ladder works for white. This would be game over for black. The reason why black has to be able to cover here is because of liberties. Black only has 4 liberties. So the moment white gets more than 4 liberties, black starts to get some problems. So, yeah, and the same issue would apply here, by the way. So white just has too many liberties here. So, yeah. So then the question is, why did black lean and then go here? So what is this move doing? This move is a ladder breaker. This move is a ladder breaker, which is so crazy. Which, again, this is one of those things where did black just have a feeling during the game that, oh yeah, something should work? Or did black generally read it out when, let's say, black pushed, and then connected here? Right? Like, at what point did black know, oh, things were going to be okay? It's very interesting. Because no matter how white plays, if white goes down to just capture, if we do the same exact sequence, it's now no longer a ladder. White has to be able to push here and has to be able to push here. But notice now, white cannot ladder. Because now this would become an Atari, like so. And same thing if when white goes here. Black covers, so white extends, or cuts, black extends, white Ataris, same thing. Because of the 2 stones here and the fact that these 2 stones only have 2 liberties, this ladder does not work for white anymore. Because this is an Atari now. So it's crazy how deep reading we're seeing here. And so the end result of this is white goes here. And so I was looking at this position, I was like, at face value, I'm like, this feels pretty good for black. But then when I started looking at it more, I'm like, first off, it's probably even because these are top professionals. I believe Wang Xinghao white is number 3 in the world currently. But black has captured those 7 stones, the 7 stones here. And while that looks big, black is only capturing these stones. And since black isn't alive on the right side here, black would have to at least black would have to actually capture these stones off the board. And white lived on the right side, lived in the lower side, and got sente. So looking at it more, I was like, oh, okay, actually, it's probably more even than I first thought. But I'm looking at this whole board here, right? And as I often say to my students, like, you want to look for the biggest sides of the board, especially when there's not really much going on. And at this stage, there really isn't that much going on. So I would say, maybe black wants to play h17, maybe just protect the corner since white's pretty strong here, maybe help the left side. But black plays a very interesting move of just playing down. And this is not a small move by any means, but is it the biggest move? That's what was surprising me. Because if black doesn't go there, by the way, white can play at L2. White can play at L2. This is the general way you want to play, or at least pre-AI, this was the way you want to play. I don't know if things have changed now. But you might think to cut, but when you cut, even if black continues or even Ataris, capturing that 1 stone, you don't get that much more. Going here, you actually are making it harder for black to sacrifice that 1 stone. Because if you connect and I connect, now when you cover, there's peeps, there's clamps, there's a lot of problems there, potential problems for black. Yeah, so it's a little more annoying for black to find that good follow-up. But yeah, is that the biggest thing? It's interesting. It is interesting, though. And white says, okay, I'm just going to take a big corner. And black says, okay, I'm going to continue, though. And another thing I tell my students all the time is to be a good Go player, you have to be stubborn. So, okay, white, you're not going to answer me at M2. Okay, I'm going to get my follow-up. So black plays here. And again, white actually can't cover because there's some very, very prickly aji there for black. Well, it's bad aji for white, but black can utilize it. So white can't block, white just Ataris. And again, interestingly, black just connects here. Which, again, at surface value, I'm like, okay, like you had the ladder, so why fix? Like white didn't even take away a liberty. Like you're okay here. But the reason is getting rid of bad aji. So not only if, like, let's say black did something else completely, later white could even cut, black has to connect, and then white could Atari. And you can see those 2 stones are light for white, and that black gets pretty over-concentrated. But also just the simple fact that at some point, right now this doesn't work, right? But if these stones get captured or something happens in the upper right, this ladder might end up working again. So by sealing this up, now black has no issues. So this is pretty much a I'm getting rid of any of my bad aji kind of move. So yeah. Which again, in a 15-second game is a very good idea, as it turns out. So black just takes, and then white plays the pincer. So let's count the moves black ignored, right? So black ignored this move. White played top. Black played here. And then white got another move. So white got 1, 2, 3 moves in exchange for black to get M2, N2, and N8. Right? It just doesn't that feel kind of right? Like if we compare the moves each side got, white just feels. Oops, not that one. White just feels a little more efficient this way, doesn't it? So again, it's very, very interesting. Very interesting. Very solid play by black. Black even kicks here and then turns, which again, the turn is a nice move because you might think okay, I want to help my corner, so I might Atari here, but Atariing is Aji Keshi, right? And there's still bad Aji in your corner. So as long as these stones are on the board, it's not like white can get in anymore, right? It's not like white can play inside anymore. But black added a move because, again, if black does do something else, white pushing here is just so annoying. Because you can't cover. You can't cover because of the cut. So, yeah, that's actually... I wonder if... This feels pretty big, actually, if white can get S14. So I wonder if white could play S14. Obviously, if you play a kick, you should just answer, but okay, black covers, and then white played here. So black gave white 1, 2, 3, 4 moves up top. And now it's time to play some sabaki. Now it's time to play some sabaki. So the key with sabaki is you have to remember that, one, I am going to be at a disadvantage in any sort of local fight. Because even if you cross a line down the middle here, black only has 1 stone in the upper left compared to white's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stones, right? So any fight locally is going to be advantageous for white. So what does that mean? We have to stay light. So we have to stay light as black. So whatever we do, we're not going to play stones that are touching, right? We do not want to get heavy. Now, again, conversely, if you're white, that's kind of your goal. Let's try to make my opponent heavy, if possible. But the thing you have to remember with sabaki is it's problematic for, in this case, white, because, for example, and let me just show what black did so I can kind of explain what kind of my thought process here. But just what you want to do is look for a lone stone in the area to harass. So in this case, that could be shoulder hits or attachments. So pick a stone that you can, let's say, shoulder hit or attach to. So in the game, black picked this one. Black picked this one. And so this is why this is a problem for white. But it's not even a problem, but it's hard. It's a hard position for white because, let me ask, how many possible moves are there for white to play, right? White could... You don't want a Tenuki, that's for sure. So Tenuki is not an option in this case, but white can either extend either way here or play some sort of Hane, right? Something like this. And then from that, like let's say white extends. How many possible moves are there for black? Black could ignore, so that's one move, but black could jump, black could Hane, black could extend, black could Knight's move, right? There's a lot of possibilities here. And so the same is true if white plays the other way, right? So how many different variations, how many branches are there that black could choose? And remember, since black played elsewhere and was taking cash everywhere, it's harder for the opponent to find the best result. And that's kind of the thing. White might be able to find a good result, but black is okay with just taking anything that's playable. So that's really the problem with sabaki, is for the person who is getting sabakied, if that is a word, it's hard to find the best result. And so the onus is on white to not only be able to attack black or try to attack black, but also get the best result possible. And so basically sabaki is a bunch of questions. It's a test that white is not prepared for, if you want to think about it that. In this case, white's not prepared for, or trying to not make white prepared for. So it's like a pop quiz, if you will. So white Hanes, again, Hanes is a generally good idea because you're trying to make your opponent heavy. Whereas if you just extend here, black could just go elsewhere. So that's the idea with Hane. White's trying to get black heavy, so black double Hanes. That's pretty obvious, or should be a good follow-up, because again, if black goes here and white just answers, you're getting heavy. So black double Hanes, white cuts, black extends. And in this case, these two stones are they are heavy technically, but they're important stones because they're creating cuts. And then white goes here. And again, let me ask you, where do you think black plays? Where do you think black plays? Next. Does black descend? Does black cut? Does black turn? Black doesn't have the ladder, so does black play a ladder breaker? Does black Atari? What does black do? Well, if you said any of those, you are incorrect. Black attaches here, following the same principles of I do not know what I want yet. So let me ask again in the upper left. This is the key of sabaki, is letting the aji almost simmer. Let it just sit there and until you know is the right time to use it. Because if you use this aji first and then play this attachment, the idea is white might play differently. But while white has to worry about, oh, is black going to J17? Is black going to L18? Is black going to J15, right? Who knows what black could do? So while there are still questions unanswered, it's harder for white to pick the best move. So white Hanes. Again, following everything we just talked about, where do you think black plays? Black cuts. Same principle. Same principle. This is the quote-unquote normal move. But if you play this way, you're going to get heavy. You're going to get heavy in this area. So black just simply cuts. And again, white has a choice. I can E18 or I can E17. Or sorry, B18. White picks B18. So now black descends. So something about whatever happened in the upper left, black was satisfied with and said, okay, now I can activate here. But white just connects. White just connects. So yeah, white thinks with the cut there and the potential, there's Ataris at E17, there's attachments. White says, I'm just going to fix. Black cuts, and then captures, white turns, and black connects. So black was able to use something, but in exchange, white makes a huge upper left still. Now white jumps here. Very similar to the jump black did early on at, I believe, M5. Just trying to expand on a large scale. But the sabaki is not over yet. So once again, you want to look for not only lone stones, but you want to look for your opponent's shape, and you want to play at the weaknesses of your opponent's shape. In some cases, that means peeping at a weakness, but in other cases, it could mean other things. So again, take a second. Where do you think black played? Where do you think black played here? And once again, when you are trying to make sabaki, you are trying to make as many possible variables as possible. You want to make as many variables as possible. So, if you thought of D13, you're on the right track. But notice if white just connects, white has a perfect shape here. There are no weaknesses with this wall here. And also, how many ways are there for white to answer? Like, yes, you could block either way, but white's generally just going to answer like this. So where does black play? And this is probably going to be the thumbnail for the video. Black plays the weakness of the one space jump, which is playing inside of it. This is the move black played. And when I saw this move, I instantly knew, yep, I'm going to make a video on this game. Because these are the kind of exciting moves I love to see in Go. These are the moves that make me, or the reason why I like Go. These exciting, different, surprising moves here. And again, it's the same thing as when black attached up top. How many different ways are there for white to play? Not only can white play this Atari or this Atari, but after white picks one, right? Let's say white picked this way and then black extends, white has to think about, oh, I can go here, I can go here, I can go here, I can go here. There's a lot of variations. There's a lot of possibilities. And when black is just looking for one good possibility or just one even average possibility, it's harder for white to now be like, okay, I need to find the best one out of all the, and in the sea of complications, white has to find the best one. So that's the idea here. So in the game, white actually plays this way. Because again, I can't know for sure why white doesn't play this way. It does get black into the left side here. And I can't even, like, if white connects here, I don't even know what black would have done next, right? This would probably be the way I would think about. But something about this white did not like. So white goes this way. And this makes sense because white is saying, okay, I'm going to take this left side, and black, you got to live now in the upper left. And so black starts. Black now Atari's this way. Which, again, the important thing to remember, black could have went here to begin with, right? Something like this. But if black does this now, white could just do something differently now. White could even ignore. White could just ladder now. And it's because black answered the question for white before asking more questions first. So, yeah. White Atari that way, then connected. Then black does this Atari. Or, yeah, the Atari. Push, push, push. Black fixes. White covers. And I love black's next moves here. Black just covers here. And white has enough liberties to capture white Ataris first. And I actually thought black might do this ko. Because especially when you're playing in your opponent's area, like anything like this is going to be good, right? Like, oh, I'm going to make a ko for life in my opponent's area. That's got to be good. And it's pretty much a flower ko as well because, again, it was white's area to begin with. And let's say black, oh, I don't know. Maybe Atari's here. Goes here. If white plays a ko thread, right, like something like this, that's obviously not the biggest move, but just for example, like black recaptures the upper left. So it feels quite big. But black actually just connects. Black just connects. So white has to push, black covers, and then black can Hane. And this is kind of black's idea. This is why black figured, oh, I can still connect. So why can black Hane? Because if white Hane's back, even Hane's back, not even cut, but just Hane's back, black can extend this stone now, and it's an Atari, and then black would be able to save this stone. And now white has problems in the corner again. So because of this Aji that black created, black's able to Hane here, and white has to play this move. White has to play this move. So black jumps here. Black jumps here, which again, this is... Obviously, it's threatening to save these two stones, but it's black's trying to stay light, right? Like, I think technically white can cut here, but white would be creating more complications for themselves because now the entire upper side is getting separated somehow. So, yeah, so white actually goes here, which again, this is an interesting move because it is technically offering black to save these stones, right? But now that black has invested so many stones on the upper left, now they're beyond the point of being able to sacrifice, because white could cap here or net here, I guess is what I'm saying. But white didn't like, if this is Sente, black could just kind of surround the stone, and yeah, white didn't like this. So white's trying to keep the one stone alive there. Black clamps and then jumps, which again, this is saying, oh, if you cut now, I can ladder. This is very good timing. And if white captured, then black can connect. So, yeah, good attachment. White peeps. Yeah, peep. Pretty much fixing this Aji now. Especially after this move. Knight's move. Okay. But so now, it took a little bit, but white now has the group that white wants to attack. So instead of just playing directly after it, white plays here, right? And imagine also, like, black did not play this connection here earlier. That meant white would be able to, as I showed, white would have been able to cut. Black would have had to play N8. White would be able to, I guess I have to give black a pass. White would be able to Atari and then be able to keep attacking like this. So that is why this kind of move black played earlier, when white played T4, black played N8, is a super, I like to say, a mature move. It's leaving no Aji. It's, yeah. It might be slow right now, but there won't be problems later. But white jumps here. If you know you're attacking, this move's should be obvious. Or this kind of move should be obvious. Because again, I want to attack the upper side, but I don't want to just do it directly. So this move is indirectly attacking the upper left, but also threatening to get into the bottom side. Black jumps across the knight's move. That is the correct way to do it. White covers and Ataris. And white goes down. Black plays here. Again, This is white is threatening to cut here. So black played here is a very nice way to fix that. Right, white still can't go there. White caps, so black captures. White peeps, and then white comes in. So, yeah. White got some exchanges, but black captured this one stone. Black attached and then cut. And the reason why black can play this way is, again, once again, because black played so solidly on the bottom. In a lot of cases, white would be able to Atari and extend here, but there's just not enough space here. Even if white gets some Ataris, there's just not enough space for white to live in the lower side. So white just stands up, and black plays this move. It's a very nice way to not only fix the weakness here, but also it creates some aji in the lower left. And again, it might feel weird because white in the game just goes elsewhere. Like, why wouldn't white even just play this way, right? Well, white has created some aji. White has created some aji. Because yes, white can Atari here, but white can, this move is sente, this kind of move is sente. So if white can ever run out here, and white can maybe threaten both. Something like this. This is the idea. Where I haven't used this aji yet, so there's still potential. So again, you want to fight the urge to just use the aji like this, and then now you can never change your mind. So white plays here, which might feel like a strange move, but the idea is that one is obviously threatening to get into the corner, but two, whether black doesn't play in the corner, like black could Atari this way, or Atari this way, and see, start to put some pressure on the upper side. So, yes. So white just takes. Black plays a knight's move, yes. White fixes. Black hanes, and I like black's order here. Black pushes and then clamps. This doesn't always work, especially when the Atari's here, but because of black's perfect shape on this side, black would actually still be able to capture here. So, yeah, white has to connect. And then black can connect under. So that's pretty big. And then white plays the 3-3. And then white plays the 3-3. And this is when the game kind of shifts in one direction. Because what's the life and death of white's top group? What is the life and death of white's top group? Well, the thing to keep in mind about white's top group is white's alive at any moment because this move is sente. Right? This starts to create eye shape. And if black has to take here, white is simply alive. Maybe going here is best. So that's the idea. White has an eye here, and if black ever threatens to take the eye out, again, I don't know how to give black that, give it away, but white is going to connect somehow back to here. That's kind of white's idea. But white goes here. White goes here. And this move is strictly thinking about these kind of cuts like this, where if you capture, I can double Atari. But if you have to connect, then I can most likely live somehow in the upper side. There's some sort of aji here to live, right? Maybe ko, maybe something, right? This threatens to monkey jump connect. So because of that, so black knows white basically has miai, white can connect this way or white can cut. So black in the game plays here. Which again, if white just play something else, now there wouldn't be that aji for white to use. It's a lot harder for white to now live in the corner. But what else did this do? Remember that forcing move I was talking about where white has an eye here? Where black just took that away. So what happens in the game is white took the 3-3, black took this captured, or took this cutting stone, and white lives in the corner. Which again, that is a huge corner. That's a huge corner. And again, this kind of move does not work if white doesn't play this T12 move, right? Because if you ever try this here, I can just simply Atari down like this, right? And separate them. So white was preparing this. But now, black has just pretty much given up the entire corner. So black needs to find a pretty good response to this. Black pushes. And yeah, now white does not have an eye there. Because again, if this wasn't here and black pushed here, white could descend here and, yeah, is alive. So, yeah, so I don't know. So either white didn't see this or white was confident enough that white can live. So let's see what happens. So the thing is, even with regardless, like white can now not connect in sente. White cannot connect in Sente now. Now, I think white potentially can. White would lose a little bit in the corner, but yeah, like for example, if black like Hane's here, because of this cut here, white would be able to connect, I think. Yeah. But regardless, white just jumps here. And black plays the Atari. White makes a shape point there. I think this is time Suji here. Black pokes out the shape, right? Keeping white down to one eye. White covers, which this move is threatening a ko, where if black plays here, Atari, like this. Right? And the thing with this ko, though, is, yes, it's definitely a ko, but black is only threatening this one stone here, right? So black has a ko threat, right? Black can play some move like this Hane. White would probably have to answer, but when white connects, black still needs to fix this ko. And if you have to fix like this, well, now you have some danger. You have some danger. Again, if this is starting to be Sente, black has to take out the eye somehow. Then there could be some danger here, and now you got to make sure your whole group's alive somehow. And even if you're like, oh, that's still one eye, then there's some real danger. And this is in the realm of hypothetical now, but there is some danger with moves like this, with the cut here. Yeah, black might be having some problems. So black needs to find a better way, which again, I don't know if black read this all out or if black knew or what, but black found a way to make this ko heavier for white. But how was that possible? Let's take a look. So black in the game goes here. Which again, if white wanted to, so this is still a ko, or white could just live, but then black would kill the upper right, I mean. So white plays here. White peeps. And I forget if black answered this direct. I think black does, yes. Then white goes here, and now we see the tesuji I was talking about. So what is the move that black plays here? And again, I don't know if this is white missed this or what, but the next move is the tesuji here. So what is the move? Well, where black played is S13. S12, I mean. And again, I was deciding on if I should make this a tesuji highlight by itself, but the game itself was interesting enough to merit just making a whole video. But yeah, so what is black planning with this move? But okay. Obviously, two different ways to answer. You can connect or you can capture. If you capture, now black's descent here is threatening to kill the entire right side. But not only the right side, but now somehow, because the upper right is now cut off, black's going to be able to capture the upper right as well. So, okay, that seems bad. Which, again, just to illustrate, if black had just descended, white could just live. You can see there's still an eye here. But, so then, okay, white connects here. Big whoop. Well, the difference now is, remember this ko in the center that I said wasn't heavy for white? Well, now it is very heavy for white. Because now, if white plays this ko, it is now a double Atari. And so now white has some real problems after, white has to answer this. Now white can't just connect here. Because before, black could only connect like this, but now black could capture like this. So, yeah, this move is so brilliant. This kind of move is so brilliant. And I've done tesuji highlight videos like this in the past. And it's still almost, and again, they are hard to see, but it's almost like a blind spot for me, as I have a hard time seeing these kind of throw-ins. It just makes the ko heavier. And again, if white has to give this up, then the upper left is a huge gain for black. Huge gain for black. So, yeah. So white just connects, cuts, black pokes here, and there's just white Atari'd, black connected, or black played here to threaten the, like, black can make an eye there. So white took, goes there, black goes there, black poked. This was the idea with this move, by the way. When white took, if black didn't play that, yeah, I don't know what else black could do, but let's say black does something else. Even that's too good of a move. Black goes here, and white goes here. Black has to be able to play here, but if this Atari works, you can see black has 2 problems. So black can fix that ahead of time by going here. White takes, play there. Black pokes it out. White covered, poke. Black connects here. This is why black connected here, by the way. That connection I was talking about. If black had done something else, white would be able to connect somehow. I think you have to cut first, but yeah, white would be able to connect. So that's why black connected here. White pushed. White connected, and then black can simply just live by going there. So at this stage, white resigned. There's some Aji here white could maybe use, especially with this Atari, but there's just not enough. There's just not enough. So yeah, what started with a white area up top, black's planted some seeds of sabaki in the area and was able to flip it around and end up killing white instead. So yeah, again, this game had it all in my eyes. It had not only a unique opening that I'd never seen, but also, and obviously good shape and how to punish good shape as well. But the sabaki for me is the highlight. It is so, and not to be too dramatic, but it is almost inspiring to see like play like this, because this is kind of my ideal go. Like this is the kind of go I want to play, and so to see it kind of, let's say, quote unquote, working at the top level is very inspiring for me. So yeah, very, very cool game, very, very fun game. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you have any questions about this game, please let me know in the comment section below, and I'll see everyone in the next video.